A few days ago, President Bola Tinubu nominated the new central bank governor and 4 new deputy governors. The nomination was made notwithstanding that the former occupiers of those offices enjoy tenure that is protected by law and subject to due process before their removal. There is no announcement of resignation of the current governor. Well, there's been an announcement, or the story is out there, that Godwin Emefiele has resigned. This, however, fueled some concerns earlier about the rule of law and record of the new government. There's worry about the emerging lack of strict obedience to the rule of law in the administration's bid to implement its economic and social agenda. Dr. Sam Amadi, a RISE analyst, is here to help us look at some of the issues. Yeah. Thanks, Sam. There was a quick correction there, because it was, in the public space that Godwin Emefiele resigned, but I'm sure the appointment was rather made before his resignation. We don't have a copy of that resignation yet. So.
I do not have former State House announcement. I think I saw it on Twitter this evening that maybe has resigned, but nevertheless, the issue here is the perception, basically, that maybe when the government comes to power newly and they have some important agenda to implement, the tendency has always been people feel that rule of law is a restriction to development. There's been this debate that maybe we need strong government. Strong government means government that is quick to get things done. So if we are suspecting that maybe Sam Amadi has done something wrong, people feel, why go to the process? We could just yank him off and get the place rolling. But the real irony is that in doing that, you create failure even of the project itself. So think it this way. The notion around due process protection, for example, for monetary policy managers, the central bank governors and all other people, is that you want to insulate key economic functions from politics. So it might be possible that a particular president means well now, but it also might be possible down the line that the presidential discretion becomes weaponized politically. So the CBN Act and many other regulatory laws provide for a tenure and say there could be circumstances where the incumbent of that office, the occupier of that office, may have done some things or it's no longer in public interest to retain that person. So the procedure is to go to the National Assembly and make a public address. Now, why that requirement? Because that makes it reasoned. So there must be a reason for you to approach the National Assembly. The address will articulate maybe misbehavior, maybe some conflict of interest. So not doing that is what due process problem. But if they willingly resign without putting
I was going to ask you this issue of due process and the rest. We know that there have been some court pronouncements, injunctions, or so to speak, on Godwin Emefiele and the DSS or the SSS, about, hey, let the status quo remain and the rest. Is this an abuse too of the rule of law that you're saying? That's
absolutely, yeah. That's the emerging pattern. For example, we saw when Emefiele, there was an order, positive order for his release, arraignment. We've seen movement from a farcical charge around gun running to a presumed new charge around either terrorism or corruption or some kind of
and the new statement again that he's agreed for a plea bargain, but we've not heard his lawyers.
Exactly.
We've not heard his lawyers say so.
So those mystery and the fact that you are undermining the integrity of the courts, it's like politics is trumping rule of law. Very simple. Emefiele is a government of functionary, and if there's something has done, he has no immunity against prosecution. So you could, even while in office, you could frame those charges, press those charges, and then the court can even make an order, preemptive order, say, okay, let him step aside. And then if he's going to jeopardize the case. So that's the purpose of the court. So what we are seeing now is some uneasiness around securitization. Are we going to see public policy, managed by a certain, under the shadow of state security. So everything becomes terrorism. I mean, it's laughable. If you're going to charge your head of your monetary policy, your banking sector, with terror financing, that really damages the credibility of the country. And I look at it this way. For now, the stock market might be rallying. It's not showing sign, but perception that the government is going to be dealing with less concern for rule of law, that the government is going to be mosaic and therefore want to do what it thinks is the right thing, would definitely scare investment. So that is, Nigeria needs to be careful here. Whereas we need quick action, we need policy change. We want the government, whoever is in government, should have the right to make policy.
To drive the economy. Yeah.
Should be allowed to have the kind of personnel you need to.
And Cardoso seems to temper all that credentials, but that's not the issue for
it's not about him.
Yeah.
It's about the process.
The process,
so if
the institution.
If the president feels strong that this central bank governor should go, there are processes in law, and it is left for the National Assembly to. You see, the idea of constitutional governance, the president to have to persuade National Assembly people, and they too will see the logic that this particular governor need to give way. Now, if that gets to that point, clean slate, this guy takes over. The problem is we're going to see some sense in which, even internally in the central bank, there could be disaffection, there could be a sense in which everybody is working tiptoeing, because it seems that, again, don't forget, Cardoso, a great guy in terms of pedigree, I know him personally, does not, the father is the president's man, quote unquote. The logic of central banking over the decades has been to make it less political. So it's not the equivalent of Minister of Finance. He did well as a Commissioner for Finance. He may even do better. But the point is that we are seeing now a return to central bank being constituted in the image of the political power. And that really defeats the essence of the reform of the CBN Act.
But is it not one that is really going to drive, the agenda of the government if it's constituted in the image? Because, there is a foreknowledge of this same appointee.
No, but the point is, see, if you appoint people who are politically linked to you in very deliberate and robust sense, it means that they are converging fiscal policy and monetary policy. So fiscal policy is at the executive branch of government. The president, the Minister of Finance, and all those guys. Monetary policy, the notion today is that it should be free. For example, inflation. So the central bank fights inflation. Now, it could, at the time, the government would want the central bank to do extra work on that level for purpose of political easement.
Expediency.
But it might kind of jeopardize long-term economic well-being. And so the notion of a central bank insulated is that they can damn the political consequence and go straight. But this is the point. Even though you are haste to make development, to govern, these checks and balances, these neutral institutions, help you so that to correct error. We've seen great leaders mean well, but rush into error that is very tragic. But if you have a central bank that is not too beholden to the president, it helps. So my caveat around Cardoso and the process of his entry would be a sense that I would like to see a central bank that is intelligent, smart, knows economics, knows development, not even economics, social science development, because the work of central bank is not pure economics. In fact, people forget that it's recently that the Fed in the US got economists as head. They normally have social scientists and all kinds of people.
They've had a musicologist. Exactly. In Nigeria, we've had a historian, we've had the journalist.
So people see it just recently when the monetarists and the neoliberals took over. But the point is very simple here, that we need to make real commitment to rule of law. It helps in the long term. A rule of law helps investment. Rule of law shows proceduralized governance. People have a sense that this is stability and certainty. So you don't want to come to a market where you know that even though the guy is an angel, but major policies will turn on his discretion, on his feel good, or what he thinks. You want to see a country where the legislature is there, so the president feels that if somebody is not getting the work done, he could approach them, and two-thirds means that situation must be very evident. Otherwise, there should be tenure, because tenure is what makes the central bank governor drive the policy.
I don't know. In certain climes, certain appointments help, boost growth, maybe in the stock market, maybe in the exchange markets and the rest. Why are we not seeing this in the case of Cardoso and the new appointments the president has made? Do they not have, that international clout and
to be fair, they don't. I mean, let's we like to hype everything. I mean, Cardoso, former Minister of Finance, former Citibank Commissioner for Finance, former Citibank chief, went to Aston College or somewhere, and they went to credit school. Fine. I mean, it is not like I said before, it's not like a world-class somebody that the whole market rallies around. So, what a big deal. He's good. He could do well, or maybe not. We'll see. We'll wait and see. But the point at this point is, even if he was the most important economist in the world, the manner of his entry can actually undercut the bounce that his nomination could have gotten, because you just sit back and say, what's going on here? There's a central bank governor who is under suspension. There's a CBN Act that provides procedure, guarantees tenure. This guy just got about 2 years or so since they appointed him. There are 4 deputy governors who also should have secure tenure. And so you are wiping off all this. And also you have set up a sole investigator, not an institution. You have the Accountant General's office, you have the EFCC, you have institutions. There's a sole investigator to investigate the central bank. That alone can even cause a run. I mean, I'm even surprised that we're seeing some significant, stability in the stock market, in the capital market, even in some of the indicators. So, not too bad at all, but we shouldn't stretch this. Otherwise, we're going to get to a point where people begin to lack confidence in our monetary institutions and the CBN.
Thank you so very much, Associate Professor of Law, Dr. Sam Amadi, a Rise analyst, for coming. Thank you.